everyone, Leanne here from Kingdom Bloggers. So today I want to give you some actionable steps or tips that you can use to help you stay focused and actually build your ministry. One thing I get questioned about all the time is, Leanne, how is it that you're doing all the things? Like you have a blog, you have three websites, you have an Etsy store, you have a YouTube channel, and now you have a podcast and also your courses and you have your boot camp and just all the things. And how do I do that? So I do want to preface it by saying I do have ADHD. And fortunately, I have learned how to harness all of that excess energy in my head into being productive. So I guess I should say this is like a disclaimer. Don't try this at home. But I do want to encourage you to build a ministry and eventually take it to the next level and the next level when the time is right. And so I'm going to share with you today, like basically the steps that I took, the things that have like kept me focused and grounded into being able to do all the things and being able to grow Kingdom Bloggers to be such an amazing and large, far reaching ministry that it has become, which of course isn't all me, it's all God and all the people that He has surrounded me with along the way. All right, so let's get started. So, the first thing, if you are brand new to this, or maybe you've been doing it for a while and it's just not working, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to start with one thing. Like you see me doing all the things. I didn't start doing all the things on day one. Okay. Build your foundation. Start with one blog, or maybe you want to start with YouTube. Don't try to do them all at once because, well, let's be honest, whichever one you're starting on, you have to learn how that one works. If you're starting a blog, you've got to learn all like the technical stuff and what are plugins and how does SEO work. That's a lot of learning. Why would you want to try to learn two foundations at the same time? Right. So learn one, get a handle on it, a grasp on it until it's sort of working on autopilot, then add the next level. So what is an example of that? So yes, I have three websites. The second two, I actually didn't start until about a year and a half ago. So I started Kingdom in 2018. And so in 2021, the middle of 21 is when I launched the other two websites. By that time, I had a full strategy for the launch and everything. I actually didn't start my email list for my blog until probably year two, maybe, or closer to three, because I was still figuring out the blog. So if I'm trying to learn the blog and how that works, plus I'm trying to figure out how email works and all the other things, that's just, it's too much, right? I also didn't even start really doing social media until, I mean, I've had social media. I don't want to make you, I don't want you to think I'm lying. I've had social media for my blog from the beginning, but I wasn't actually using it. Like it's there and I might post something. I had no idea what I was doing, but for the most part, I was absent. I actually didn't really get heavy, like fully focused on social media until very recently. So we're talking 5, 6 years into it. Okay, because now I have the time to devote to figuring out how it works. I don't want to just dive into something if I don't know how it works. So building your foundation enables you to build that one thing, get it going on autopilot so that you can devote all of your attention to the next thing. And so when Kingdom was finally generating organic traffic and, I had a process in place, I was like, okay, that's good. It's working itself. Now I can come over here and start kind of figuring out this next foundation and start building that one. So that is the biggest piece of advice for brand new bloggers or someone who's been doing it for a long time. Build one foundation, like just stop doing everything else and build that one foundation. Okay, number two, this one is really important. I mean, like I'm going to say that about all the things I'm going to list today, but this one's really important. You have to know how much time you realistically have to commit to your blogging journey. I do this full time, but little secret here, I really only work about 2 hours a day because I've structured it and I've built it for that purpose. So I could be here all day, every day. I see on social media, it's like a joke that women leave the 9 to 5, so the 40-hour work week corporate job, so they can have more time at home and end up working 80 hours a week as an entrepreneur. That's just insane to me. I didn't want that. I want more time for me, my chickens, my garden, my dogs, my kids at the time. They're grown now, but you shouldn't be working that much. Now, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, you may need to put a little more effort, find that little extra pocket of time. But before you can truly devise a plan, you got to know how much time you have realistically to commit to your blogging stuff, right? So if you have children, or maybe you homeschool, or maybe you have an actual 9 to 5 job, right? And so after work or on weekends or early mornings, you may only have little pockets of time. So you need to assess what your blogging schedule is realistically going to look like. So that's number two. And that is an important part of being able to do number three, is to create goals and know what they are. You have to have goals. To say I want to build this ministry and do all these things, I guess that's a goal, but that's not really realistic at the time. Like, that's not actionable. To say I want to start this blog and create 4 blog posts a month. Okay, how am I going to do that? And so knowing how much time you have to commit determines what the goals that you set. But if you are not setting, I think they call them SMART goals, right? They have to be very specific and attainable, but they also need to have a purpose. Like, I want to start a blog. Why? Okay, well, I want to publish 4 posts a month because that's going to generate the organic traffic that I'm trying to achieve here. Okay. So if you don't have goals, then you're just blindly doing stuff. You're doing all the tasks because somebody said, oh, you should do this and you do that. And that is one of the biggest, um, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, myths that people find themselves in. And also the biggest cause of overwhelm and exhaustion for bloggers is they start doing all the things. Most bloggers, or, people in this online digital influencer kind of way, oh, you got to do this and you got to have an email and you got to have your blog and you got to be on all the channels and you gotta. And you're just like, when am I supposed to sleep? Right. You don't got to do all those things. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't even start my email list until like year 2 or 3. I didn't really start hitting social media like for reals until this past year. And so if it's insane to me that people think, and I'm not like criticizing you, it's just a mindset here, because once you think about it yourself, you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. You are not going to be effective if you're doing all the things. We can apply this to our regular lives. We have nothing left in the pot if we don't take time for ourselves, right? So saying no to different things and knowing what truly matters is going to make you more effective. So focusing on your foundation, knowing how much time you have, creating attainable goals, and staying focused on them. All right. So number 4 comes from the goals. Number 4 is, I know what my goals are, and I'm only going to focus on goal-oriented tasks. This is a killer. I see so many people tell me, doing all the things. They spend ridiculous amount of time creating all this content to share and schedule out on, say, social media or whatever. And none of that is actually bringing an ROI to what their goal is, which should be traffic to your blog, right? What's bringing traffic to your blog? More content will bring traffic. Well, understanding SEO, of course, and producing more content. But if you're spending 3 to 4 hours a week doing things to share on social media about your blog, and in your Google Analytics, you see that you didn't actually get any traffic to your blog, that was a waste of 4 hours. And so you have to understand, bigger picture, what things matter towards your goal. And so that's why I said I didn't really do social media. I didn't do email. I didn't do all the things. I just blogged. I just focused on content, and that was it. And I just want to mention here, we are 5-6 years into this. Kingdom Bloggers gets about 115,000 views every single month. And I'd say 80 to 90% of that comes from Google. So it's all organic traffic. Why? Because I only focused on what mattered in the very beginning and to this day. Okay, number 5, batch. I am a big believer in batching out my taskings. And so what does that mean? Basically, I know what time I have available throughout the day. And of course, I'm here all day, so I can set my own schedule. But even if you only have, say, 2 hours twice a week, during that 2 hours, batch it out, right? So for me, because I'm right now managing multiple things, certain days I record, say, YouTube videos. And I'll record 3 or 4 in that day and then go back and edit them later. I have a pocket of time when my house is quiet because I have adult children and they make a lot of noise. Um, and then another day is when I edit all the blog content that I'm going to publish. Now, I'll tell you how I have so much here in a minute, but I batch it out. I don't like do it from week to week or when it's due. I'll batch out everything I need for that thing in one sitting so it's done for the month. My emails, I schedule my emails out a month in advance. So my weekly emails, my blogging tips, things like that. If I know there's a sales coming up that I want to recommend, something like that, I sit down in one sitting and I create all those emails and I schedule them so they're done, right? Saves me so much time and effort later. Okay, so number 6. Now, I know if you're just getting started, number 6 is probably not going to apply to you, but it could. I've actually had one of my past students. She decided to take this approach because she was really serious about reaching her goals. But I hire help. At this point in the game for me, I have to. I just can't possibly do all the things and still enjoy my garden and chicken time. Okay. And I like my time. Didn't get a lot of it in my earlier years because I was in the military. I like my time now. Plus, I use a lot of that time to go serve at my church and be involved in the community and just do things that actually bring me joy. And if I didn't hire help, I wouldn't be able to do that. But if you're just getting started and you do have a little extra funds that you can put towards your ministry, again, you have to know that if you're planning to take this all the way and grow it into this big, huge thing and eventually, hopefully, have it as a significant passive income stream, you have to invest. But again, I am not recommending this for everybody. But if this is something that you have the ability to do, then you should. But as your ministry grows, I encourage you to budget. So you're going to budget for your hosting and your plugin. You're going to budget for what things you can spend on your blog this year. There will come a time when you should budget in funds to pay for help, pay for freelance articles for people to write content, pay for social media help, pay for, things like that. And so again, I don't recommend this for everybody up front, but for some people, this might be the method. I pay for writers. I pay for some editing of things. I pay for people to create actual digital products for me to be able to use. And so I do pay for quite a bit within our community, try to hire within the family, so to speak. But that has enabled me to take my effort away from that and put it to where my I guess gifts and talents are more effective. Okay. I don't want to do it all. Other people are better at doing things than I am. I would rather pay them to do it if that's what they are wanting to do. Okay. So number 7, and this is one I think most people don't do. If you keep doing what you're doing and you keep seeing the same non-results, we call that insanity, right? I think the definition literally of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, right? So for me, my gauge, a litmus test, if you will, if I start feeling like, oh, I didn't get this done, I have too much, and I didn't have enough time. In other words, I start feeling the overwhelm or I start feeling stressed about it, then I've done something wrong and I need to stop and reevaluate my processes. Because again, of course, my goal is to get more Jesus on the internet, but I'm 50 years old. I want to have a little fun in my life. I don't want to be stressed about this because if you're stressed over your blog, you're doing it wrong. This is supposed to be fun. Sharing the message of Jesus Christ on the internet is supposed to be fun. And if you're not having fun, it's because you're doing some part of it incorrectly. So for me, that's my litmus test. And so I'll just kind of look at all these things. I'll review my analytics. I'll see what things that I've been putting a lot of time in. It's not really bringing back a return. In other words, there's not traffic or, course signups or whatever the goals are for those tasks. If I'm not seeing a good ROI, then I might scale back on how much time I'm putting into that one piece of it. And there takes a little bit off my plate. Okay. And so my goal I do not work on Tuesday and Wednesdays because I have I serve at my church. We have a pantry and all this thing. If you follow me on social media, you know about that. Um, but that's my spiritual fill. I mean, yes, Sunday I go to church and all that, but I, Tuesday and Wednesdays are very important for me time because of I just really enjoy that, and that keeps me spiritually filled, and it just keeps me, happy. And so I don't want to get my ministry to the point that I have to like cancel my Tuesday so I can work on blog stuff. Like that's just not an option for me. And so obviously Sundays is Sunday. So I don't want to work on Sunday. Now I might do just checking on emails and stuff, but like real work. So realistically, I have Monday, Thursday, Friday, and maybe Saturday, which I would consider my work days. But my goal is to only work 2 to 3 hours on any of those days. And so if I find that I'm like having to do some work because I'm behind, then that's where I decide, okay, let's take a pause. Let's just like look at everything. And I've done that several times because, again, the ADHD, I'm like, this and let me do that. And then I'm like, oh, I broke my own rule. And so I have to go back and have to clear out some things, declutter all the things that I've gotten myself into, and then refocus my efforts to the things that are what? Bringing a return on my time investment as it pertains to my original goal. Okay, so to recap, one thing at a time. Stop trying to do all the things. And again, like I'm doing all the things, but I did them in a stepping stone, one build upon the other kind of way. I didn't do them all from the beginning, and I have a process now. So one thing at a time. How much time do you have to devote to your blogging or whatever part of the ministry you're doing? Create sustainable, actionable goals and stick to them. Like you have to know what your goals are. Then you know that if I'm going to do this today, does it apply to my goal? So only focus on goals that matter focus on tasks that matter towards your goal. Batch content, right? Figure out what things you need to get done for the month. Try to knock all of that one thing out, whether it's creating outlines, whether it's writing emails, if you're to that stage, whatever it is, do it all in one sitting. I promise you, if you can do that and get that kind of mindset going, it's going to save you a lot of time and headaches of like, oh my gosh, I got to get back and record this and I forgot and whatever. Just get them all done. You can go back and edit them later, but get them recorded or get them written or whatever. Hire help when it's time and when you're able to, and then always reevaluate, restructure, reorganize. Stop doing the same thing if it's not working. Figure out something new that you can try. Now everything you try is not going to work, but you won't know until you try. But if you're continuing to do the same things over and over and over, you're just going to get the same result or non-result over and over and over. All right. So I know that was a lot of information, and, I've had a lot of coffee and my vitamin C this morning. So I was talking really fast, but I think it's very, very important. I should also mention, don't compare yourself to what you see others in the industry accomplishing. Like, definitely don't compare your ministry to mine. I've been at this for several years now, and I have a process in place that enables me to do all the things that I'm doing. And so I wasn't like that in year one, y'all. In year one, I was still figuring stuff out. But the most important thing that I did do in the beginning is I focused on one thing at a time. I was disciplined, and maybe that's my military background. I don't know. But I stayed focused. I figured out what the goal was, and I stayed focused on it by only doing the things that were going to meet that goal. Avoiding the shiny syndrome, right? Like, this and let me go do that. That's the number one killer of fruitfulness, is because you're so busy. That's like the enemy's number one tool to keep us from doing this, is dropping all these little shiny things around for us to go chase, like go down rabbit holes. And honestly, a lot of the other bloggers, like not necessarily Christian bloggers, I think really I'm the only one that teaches this from a Christian kind of perspective, but the blogging bloggers, many of whom I do follow, a lot of the things you got to try this, you got to try that. Oftentimes it's just so they can get an affiliate commission. Not saying the tool's not helpful, but it's not helpful to you in the season you're in. trying to build your foundation. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I just want to share what has helped me become I don't want to say me become successful because it's not me, it's God, but to help my ministry be so fruitful and continue to grow. If you don't have these controls in place, you're just going to be all over the place and never actually grow. So I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments. Drop a comment below or hop over to my Facebook group and let us know over there. As always, be sure you're following us here at Kingdom Bloggers, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye.